In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how running slow will actually make you run faster. Let's get started. Hey, what's up you guys? It's Omar and welcome back to the hybrid method. This is actually episode 1 of the Explain series, and in today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about how running slow can actually make you run faster. This is a concept that I implemented towards the end of 2020 as I transitioned to ultra running with the pursuit of becoming an elite ultra obstacle course athlete. But before jumping into how this works, I want to talk to you about why this is important. From an endurance standpoint, the whole goal is to make the body as efficient as possible. This means focusing on your aerobic performance, also known as zone 2 training. If this is a new concept for you, just think about trying to do more with less. I'm actually going to have a visual pop up to my right here. Now this is the pyramid that you'll see in my latest book, The Hybrid Athlete. I believe it's chapter 3, under conditioning. We talk a little bit about the different types of running workouts that I do. Now for the purpose of this video, we're going to be focusing on the bottom section of that pyramid, which is aerobic. The whole idea behind running slow to run fast is that if we put an emphasis on that bottom section of aerobic training, also known as base training, the bigger that becomes, the bigger the sections above become naturally. Now that isn't to say that we never do any high intensity workouts or high intensity training. All I'm saying is that the majority of the work that we do is focused around base training. Now this is also known as polarized training, where we apply different percentages to our intensity zones. For me, I like to have 70% of my training done in the aerobic state and the remaining 30 in the anaerobic state or peak state. So let's kind of think about this from a training aspect. Let's say, for example, you run 50 miles a week. Out of those 50 miles a week, 35 of those miles will be focused on the base pace. And I like to leverage my pace off of heart rate and not so much speed. And we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the video here. The other 30%, that anaerobic and peak training, that's when we're going to be doing our hill workouts that you'll see towards the end of the book and the training programs that I provide. So let's look at two different examples of base workouts. The first example is going to be one from March 2021. This is a 1-hour run where I covered 5.21 miles. I burned 558 calories and my average heart rate was 148 beats per minute. Now let's fast forward to August 2021. Roughly 5 months later, did the same duration for 1 hour. The only difference here is that now I covered 6.26 miles versus the 5.21. I burned 531 calories and my average heart rate was 147 BPMs. This is a prime example of how base running can help you run faster. Not only did I cover more than 1 mile within the same time, but I actually burned less calories. So that tells me that my body has started to become more efficient in August versus when it was in March. But enough of the boring stuff. Let's talk about where this really matters, which is in our races or in our long runs. The example that I'm going to use is a 15-mile route that I created back in January 2021 and then ran recently here in December 2021. So let's start with January. The route was 15.4 miles. I burned roughly 1,700 calories and it took me 3 hours and 12 minutes to run. It was hard. A year later, in December, after I'd been focusing on base running, I went back and did that same route. The GPS covered 15.3 miles. I burned 1,650 calories and I ran it in 2 hours and 43 minutes. So not only did I shave 30 minutes off of my time, but I actually burned less calories going faster here in December. This is the ultimate validation that I needed, that base running truly helps you become more efficient and faster as a runner. So how does all of this work? For me, I like to leverage the MAF formula, which was developed by Dr. Phil Mafton, where you take the number 180 minus your age, and that gives you the max heart rate that you should be running at when it comes to your base running. So using me as an example, I'm 33 years old, so I'll take 180 minus 33, and that gives me 147 BPMs. I like to use a 5 BPM window, so for me, when it comes to base running, I like to keep my heart rate between 142 and 147 for the entire time. This is going to account for 70% of the running that I do on a weekly basis. That remainder 30% is where I will do the trail running with hills, and we'll talk a little bit about why I run hills versus sprints in a future video. But for the purpose of this video, I really wanted to drive home the fact that base running does in fact help you become faster long term. And one of the other things too I want to leave this off with is that this concept does take time. So allow yourself to start slow and watch your pace slowly drop as you continue months down the line, while your heart rate stays the same or goes lower. Again, The goal here is to become more efficient as an endurance athlete so you can do more with less. So we'll wrap it up here. I hope you found value in this video. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave them in the comments section below. I appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.